Today, I'm going back to my roots. You see, almost a year and a half ago, I launched this YouTube channel right here with 4 videos, one of which was this, a tutorial for an automated post office system. Some months later, I uploaded this, a dynamic chunk loader tutorial for sending minecarts long distances through the nether. So imagine my surprise when I was watching Hermitcraft one day and Tango and Etho are building a server-wide postal system complete with named paper for stamps and dynamic portal chunk loading. Made me do a full DiCaprio. Now to be perfectly clear, I'm not accusing them of stealing anything. These concepts are easily simple enough to be thought of and invented independently, so please don't go after them. But as someone who has featured these concepts on my channel many months ago, I feel like I have the proper authority to speak on this. You see, since I uploaded those 2 videos, I've grown as a redstoner. I've become smarter and wiser. I've made new friends, and I've hung up the cape and cowl in favor of a snazzy custom suit. So without further ado, let's dive into how their design works and also how you can build it yourself with a couple choice improvements. So in order to make this postal system have theoretically infinite range, Etho and Tango have made use of dynamic portal chunk loading, where they placed a nether portal in every chunk along the nether path, which are activated as needed as the minecart passes by. The portal gets lit, an item is spat back and forth, and the portal is broken. The reason this works is that when an entity arrives through a nether portal, it loads a 5x5 chunk area centered around the chunk where the entity came through. The inner 3x3 of that area is entity processing, which is what we're looking for since the minecart chest is an entity. So, with a nether portal in every chunk along the path, it's able to dynamically load the chunks the minecart needs for its journey. This is exactly what I did for my design as well, except they decided to put theirs at the bottom of the nether to reduce the chances of accidentally linking to these portals from the overworld. Good idea, I'll be doing that as well. But what if I told you that you can get away with using half the number of portals to do the same thing? Well, it turns out you can. Here's how. Allow me to introduce you to the simplest chunk loader in Minecraft, invented independently by Dark and Scorpio on YouTube. This design, instead of sending an item back and forth, sends a minecart one way and an item back. And this is how it does it on the other side of the portal. Yeah, it literally doesn't get simpler than this. So how's this any better than spitting an item back and forth? And how does it allow us to only use half the number of portals? The secret is the minecart's hitbox. If we place the portal like this, right up against the next chunk, then the minecart is dispensed inside an entity processing chunk and travels toward a non-entity processing chunk. However, because the hitbox of the minecart is so large, it actually does go through the portal. Then, when it comes back as an item, the chunk the portal is in, as well as the surrounding 3x3 chunk area, gets loaded as entity processing chunks. Comparing this to the design used in Hermitcraft, you can see just how much more efficient it is. Here's how to build it. Before you start though, light the portal and just go through it. The game will either take you to an existing portal or a brand new one in some cave somewhere. Wherever you end up, make sure to take the extra effort to relocate the portal to the exact right coordinates and orientation in the overworld. This will make sure that your chunk loaders always work and people are even less likely to accidentally link to them. Now that you've done that, go ahead and break the portal again, place a dispenser facing up right here, come around to the other side, and place a hopper right there, place a block right here, a couple of rails like that, and a hopper minecart like that, and it should slide right into this piece of obsidian. At this point, you can light the portal and step on through. And now that we're on the other side, let's go ahead and dig around that real quick. Okay, now we're on this side of the portal. So netherrack and a fire in the exact correct spot. We can return. Now we can place our regular minecart here. It'll nudge the hopper minecart a little bit before going through, but then it should go through the portal and come back as an item. All right, it needs a little bit of momentum, so let's try that again. There we go. Now it should come back, and now it is ready to go. And in order to activate it, go ahead and break a couple of these blocks here, block here, and some redstone line going to the detector rail. Unfortunately though, there is a downside. This works perfectly when paired with one track going in one direction. So if you build your system with really wide loops, this design is perfect. But in Hermitcraft, they designed their mail loop to be really tight so that the same portal can be used to load chunks for minecarts going in either direction. Very smart. But if we try to use this design going in the other direction, it immediately fails. This is because we're trying to dispense a minecart inside a non-entity processing chunk. But even if it did work, we still need a portal in this chunk so that this next chunk can be loaded. So we're back to building one portal per chunk? Well, that sucks. Is what I would say if I didn't have an answer to this. Allow me to introduce you to method 2. Alright, so if we want our chunk loader to be able to support both directions, we can't just belly it up to the border of the next chunk. But what if we split it along the chunk border so that the two halves of the portal are in different chunks? Now we're talking. At this point, we can just put the spit item back and forth design on both sides of the portal so that an item gets spit into one half of the portal and comes back in the other half. Right? Well, yes, but actually no. This does work, but on very rare occasions, the item can actually miss the hopper in the other dimension because of random dropper velocity. Yes, I've seen it happen. But not to worry, we can just do the exact same thing with minecarts. So on this side, we put a dropper and a dispenser facing up, a couple of powered rails, a couple of hoppers, and glitch a hopper minecart into this obsidian block just like the other design. Minecart in the top dispenser, block here, redstone dust on top, and we're done. Also flip the design and build it on the other side as well. In the overworld, it's slightly more involved, but you can follow along. First, I'm going to break the portal just to make it easier for myself. Then we're going to place a couple of droppers like this, powered rail here, that is powered like this, a detector rail, a full block like this, and a hopper this way, and 2 regular rails going this way. This will be running into a cactus like so. And right under this hopper, go ahead and punch out 2 blocks here and place a torch right there underneath this dropper. And finally, prime this front dropper with 1 minecart so that when this minecart comes through, there you go, it has one to dispense. Just like that. And of course, flip it to the other side as well. Now in the nether, just power this block with a repeater coming from a detector rail, and you're good to go. Hold on though, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh yes, silly me. Now of course, this part is totally optional, so feel free to skip to the next part if you don't want to build this. This is only a safety feature so that your server members don't accidentally link to your chunk loaders. But if you do want to build this, here's how. First, rip out the redstone going into the droppers. Then put a dispenser here and here. Fill this bottom one with flint and steel and put a lava bucket in the top one. Then make your way to the other side of the dispenser, put a block next to it, and then 4 blocks like this, a repeater here on 2 ticks, and 3 redstone dust like that. And over by this bottom dispenser, go ahead and place a block next to that one as well, sticky piston on top with a block on its face, a couple blocks like this, another repeater on 2 ticks, redstone dust here, and then we're stair stepping up to this and connect it here. Then coming from this block, we'll stair step down like this, a couple more pieces of redstone dust, then place a couple of comparators going this way and that way, and a couple of redstone dusts here and here. And basically that's that part of the circuit done. As you can see, when I turn this on, the portal will light, and when I turn it off, there is a delay before the portal is broken. Now to hook the system back up to the powered rails, go ahead and place a couple of redstone dust here, a repeater to bypass this area over here, another repeater going into this block as it was before, but make sure this is on 4 ticks, redstone dust coming over here, and another repeater, this time on 1 tick, going into this pulse extender. On this side, it's basically the exact same principle. Bring a couple of redstone dust over here into a repeater on 4 ticks and a repeater on 1 tick. And of course, if you don't ever want to run out of flint and steel, you can always put a little bit of bulk storage like so. And here's the dynamic lighting circuit on the simpler version as well. Note the 4-tick repeater down there and the 1-tick repeater right here. Now, quick disclaimer, this system is designed to be pretty robust, but it's not bulletproof. If 2 minecarts just happen to be perfectly spaced apart within a really specific 0.2 second-ish window, this can break and spill lava everywhere. But as you can see, this will be pretty rare, even if your postal system is extremely busy, like this. So there we go, I just saved you half the time that you'd spend grinding obsidian and building these portals. You're welcome. But I'm not done yet, because now it's time for... So one quirk of the system on Hermitcraft is that you can't see who sent you the mail. This is an interesting problem to me because it's so easily fixed and it has a lot of potential benefits. Allow me to explain. So currently, when a hermit sends a package, it's accompanied by 1 stamp, that of the person it's going to. But what if it was also accompanied by a 2nd stamp, that of the sender? This very simple change has 3 big benefits. The first is sender notification. When the receiver gets their mail, they'll know who sent it because their stamp will be right next to the shulker box. The second is return mail. Usually when you receive mail, you want to send something back, right? This way, the sender has just given you the stamp that you can use to send something back to them. No need to use one from your own stash. The third is error correction. If there's some kind of error with the stamp, like a typo for instance, the minecart chest will go all the way around the loop and then come back to you. Since the loop in the nether only travels in one direction, you are guaranteed to be the last stop in the loop, meaning that there's no way that your stamp will interfere with the mail getting to its destination, and it'll only come back to you once it's visited all the item filters in the system. The way it currently is on Hermitcraft, it will loop in the nether endlessly if the stamp has an error, which is no good. Now I want to quickly redirect your attention to this, the package rebuilders at each of the nether station. What this does is it sucks the items from the minecart chest before breaking it, dispensing it, and then refilling it. Tango and Etho decided on this method to reset the 15-second cooldown that a minecart has before it's able to travel through a portal a second time. In my design, I simply stalled it for around 15 seconds, but I think their design is much smarter, especially since we know exactly how many items the minecart chest will be holding. In their case, it's just 1, the shulker box. But with our design, it's 2, because the sender's stamp will be there with it, or yours if there's an error. To adapt this, just add 1 more hopper right here, and you're good to go. So yeah, whenever you send mail, also dispense one of your own stamps into the drop chute, and the problem solved. Speaking of the drop chute, yeah, this could use some updates too. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot here that I really like. The fact that it already checks if there's a stamp in this dropper and if the shulker is empty is great, but Scar did do this the first time he saw it.
Did you get it in there?
You told me to throw it in.
You
I dropped it.
Oh my gosh.
He threw it. Oh no. He said drop.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, let's add a piston right here so that doesn't happen. This will also allow the user to break and grab the shulker box without it falling down the shaft. Oh, and of course, a dropper down here to dispense your stamp along with the recipients. And of course, you can hook this up to more storage if you want to. As for how to build the station, neither Tango nor Etho really showed this in very much detail, so I just built one of my own based on their description of how it's supposed to work. Hopefully this flyby gives you enough detail, but if it doesn't, this world is available for download in the description as well as on my Discord server if you want to study it further. Same goes with the bottom portion of the station with all the crafters. This should have the same exact functionality as described on Hermitcraft, but I freestyled this as well. So, let's recap. We were able to reduce the number of chunk loaders in the nether by half, improve the reliability of the chunk loaders by using minecarts instead of items, add a return stamp so that people can see who sent the mail or the system can correct for errors, and of course, make the station a little more scar-proof. Nice. But of course, I didn't change everything about Hermitcraft's system. In fact, several things needed no improvements at all, like the junctions, the package rebuilder, and the entire bottom half of the station. You can check out all those things in the world download as well. And if you need any help with it, I've created an HPS help thread in the Redstone help channel in my Discord server, where a whole community of supportive and knowledgeable Redstoners are there to help. And lastly, special thanks to Mooncatcher for helping me out with this video. Appreciate you, man. Best of luck and happy mailing.